Hello everyone, and welcome to my Unity Explorer tutorial. If you don't know, it is a tool that lets you do unspeakable things to any object in a Unity game. This is a second guide about this tool on my channel. The previous one was a more basic tutorial that covered stuff like basic block manipulations, component editing, object explorer, texture and projectile replacement, and more. If you haven't seen it, you might want to check it out. Now let's not waste any time and get to the tutorial. Unity Explorer is installed like any other ULTRAKILL mod. I'm not going to go in detail about this process, as there are many videos on how to install BepInEx and other plugins. This is how your folder is supposed to look like. Now, once you open the game, you should notice the Unity Explorer menu pop up. It gets a bit glitchy and refuses to work properly if it remains on your screen once the intro ends. In general, it is a good idea to close the Unity Explorer UI when loading a different scene to avoid bugs. You can close the menu with the F7 key by default, or by clicking here. To avoid having to do this all the time, open Unity Explorer settings and select Hide on Startup. Don't forget to save the changes. Before we get to the good part, I'll go over the basics once more to remind you how things work around here. To inspect an object, open the UI with F7, click on the Inspector button, and select World Inspection. World allows you to inspect objects in the level, while UI does the same with menu elements. Inspect the object by clicking on it, and you should see this. There are 4 main parameters you can change: position, the location of the object in the scene; local position, the same thing but the position is relative to the parent object; rotation; and scale. Do not mix up the size editing of blocks in normal ULTRAKILL with scaling in Unity Explorer. You can change these parameters with sliders or plus and minus buttons. The intensity of change depends on this number right here. You can also manually input values here. There are some useful buttons above too. The green square indicates whether an object is active or not. An inactive object basically doesn't exist in the level. You can create copies of the object with the Instantiate button and delete objects with the Destroy button. You can change the name of the objects too, which is useful in organizing. To assign a parent object, copy the name of one of the objects and paste it into the corresponding field of the child object. Now both objects will move when moving the parent object, but only one will move when moving the child object. The hierarchy can be navigated here. The Components menu contains all the different properties of the object, such as collision, texture, parameters, and more. You can delete components by pressing the X button, or add new components by typing their name. Click on a component to edit it. Here you can change the color of the object's material, for example. The Object Explorer window allows you to search up different loaded objects, as well as explore the objects of different scenes. The main scenes you'll need are the first one, which is the level itself, where all the corresponding objects are located, including the player, as well as the Don't Destroy and Load scene, where all objects unaffected by scene change are stored. This is where you want to look for objects with the Don't Destroy component. The level scene contains different level elements, as well as the UI, player, and game controller. The game controller lets you change, for example, the flow of time. The player object contains your main camera, HUD, guns, and arms to name a few things. Other UI can be found inside Canvas, or by simply inspecting it. Here you can disable the cheats enable text, a feature which I often use in my videos, or change the death animation text. The only limit is your imagination, and knowledge of the game files, and coding skills, and you need to explore limitations, but enough about that. Let's learn about our capabilities with several examples. Let's do something you probably all want to. Let's make portals. First of all, huge shout out to Galvin Voltag for making a portal tutorial. We will use portals further in the guide, so I won't simply redirect you to their video, but know that most of my portal knowledge came from there. To start, we will need two objects. Let's use hook points. A portal needs an entry and an exit. Let's name our hook points accordingly. We should remove everything we don't need. So let's hide the different model elements and remove hook point components, and instead add a portal component to our hook points. For the portals to work, they need to exist, so we need to define a shape for them. Normally, we would be simply able to copy and paste the shape data from plain shape. However, Hakita released a patch that removes this, literally when I started to record this video, so instead we'll have to grab it from an existing portal. Before loading it to the level, add a don't destroy component to both portal parts. Enter 8-1 for example, inspect the TV and take the room apart until you find the portal. Then open up the component, find shape data and copy it. Now I can go back to Sandbox and paste shape data into both portals. You can edit the parameters here and make sure to always apply the changes. Our portals need to know where the entrance and the exits are. For the portal entry, copy your object's transform component and paste it into portal.entry. Do the same for the other portal. To define an exit, you must paste the transform component from the other portal into portal.exit. Do the same for the second portal. Now, portals don't really like reloading the level, so if you change scenes, simply instantiate a new pair of portals for them to reload. And here you go, working portals. You can edit different parameters to set the size, direction, who can enter, what is shown, and etc. To change gravity, tick the Use Perceived Gravity boxes and enjoy breaking your values. Now let's take those portals and do something funky with them. We will change the perspective by placing a portal into our camera. You can do this by setting the player's camera as the portal's entry parent and changing its local position so that it is aligned with the camera. Now you'll notice that we only see V1 move with that portal glued to his face. Set the entry as the exit portal's parent, and now we have a very fucked up camera. To fix this, change and fiddle with the local position until it looks acceptable. When you like your camera enough, go to the portal component and change a couple of properties. First of all, set the entry portal as a mirror. And then tick all of these boxes except the last one. Now you won't see the portals anymore. Second, find entry travel flags, and then tick every box except none. Now the portal will only function as a camera. To hide the weapons, locate all of the guns you need and disable their models. It is important to not disable the weapon object itself. Sadly, I haven't figured out a way to make hit scans work, but maybe you can. If you do, let me know in the comments. The third-person view will not reset on death or checkpoint restart, but will reset on mission restart or level change, so keep that in mind. On the topic of the main camera, let's fuck up the arms now. I will show you how to make the dual fists in ULTRAKILL. First of all, we will need a second feedbacker. Create a clone of the existing one and give it the same parent and properties. When you're done with that, be sure to actually assign this object as a second arm. You can do this in the fist control component. To make sure everything works correctly, you can copy all the properties from the real feedbacker's punch component into the new feedbacker. Also replace the punch object of the knuckle blaster in fist control with a new one. I am not sure if the last two steps are needed, but it doesn't really hurt to make sure. Additionally, You can adjust the stats of both of your feedbackers. Now for the visual aspect, mirror the second feedbacker by setting its X scale value to a negative number. Next, adjust your arms positions however you want. You can either experiment or copy mine, depending on what you want. The arms now display correctly, but will disappear once you switch them. The simplest way I found to fix that is to take the feedbacker model, which is this object, and take it outside of the feedbacker itself, like this, by changing the hierarchy. Now the arms won't disappear when you switch them. Enjoy throwing pits at everybody. We've talked about our arsenal. Now we need something to use it on. We'll create a custom enemy based on the divinity from my previous video. To do this, we'll need to spawn a drone, a providence, and a virtue. We'll work on the looks first. For that, I'll change the parent objects of the providences and virtues models to the drone and reset their relative positions. If you lost your enemies, you can still find them in the automated gore zone object, which is typically placed last in the scene inspector. After the models are in place, I'll hide all unwanted elements so that only those I need remain. To change the appearance further, I'll set the color of all model parts to pink. This is done through skinned mesh render, like this. Okay, we don't need the providence anymore, so we can delete it. To make sure our divinity shoots beams of light, I have opened the virtue's drone component. This component is unique to drone type enemies, and contains unique drone data like its projectiles and sounds. Typically, all enemies have an enemy identifier component, and an enemy type component, or components. For example, zombie, machine, or drone. Enemy identifier contains basic data, while enemy type contains data unique to that enemy. Anyway, I'll grab the virtue's beam asset and paste it into our divinity. Now we can delete the virtue too. To change the display name in the HP, head over to the enemy identifier component. You can add a boss bar component through Unity Explorer, or do it with ULTRAKILL's Alter Arm. Now our enemy is working more or less correctly. The boss bar is a little funky because we've created it before updating the HP, so we take the drone's HP of 2 as a base instead of our 30. You can put any enemy, including your creations, to use in the level arenas. To modify a level arena, you must first find it with the Scene Explorer. The important objects are the waves and the trigger. The trigger has an Activate Arena component, in which you can modify what enemies are spawned. The wave object contains the enemies themselves, as well as the component where you can specify when the wave ends and what enemies spawn after. In this tutorial, we will replace the street cleaners with Joninators. I'll inspect a Joninator and disable him. Then I'll copy the Joninators twice, so that we have 2 clones to work with. You need to assign the Joninators the same parent the street cleaners have, and preferably set their positions to be the same. The important part is replacing the street cleaners by pasting the Joninators in their place in the Activate Arena component. You don't need to delete the cleaners themselves, as they will simply remain disabled. As you can see, our wave modification works perfectly. You can move any object into any level by removing its parent if there is one, and adding a Don't Destroy component to it. An important thing to keep in mind is that lately, after the Prod update, this feature has become incredibly buggy. Transporting your own stuff works fine, but elements of other levels often have missing textures or can crash the game, so you might want to avoid transporting major elements this way. This concludes the tutorial. Keep in mind that these are only a couple of examples, and that I am in no way a professional, but I still hope to inspire you to try and make something yourself with this tool. Until we meet again, take care.